So these temples on Bharata, if you see, it is going to be there every Sunday starting from today, from 9 to 10 p.m. IST, India time. So anyone, if you're living abroad or so, some other place, different time zone, you look at the time and you adjust. Now, we all mostly we have a mixed crowd, so I'll speak in English. The medium will be English. In case you don't understand something, I'll tell you in Hindi, Tamil, or the language which in case I know, I can tell you in that. Okay, now the link that is there, the Google Meet link will be the same for all the classes. Every Sunday same link will be there, so if you want you can note it down. Now with regards to the class that is there, whatever I show you in the class or whatever I tell you, I'll be recording that. I'll share the material also on the group, so in case you miss a class also, you can go through that. But as far as possible, it's better if all of you attend live, so that's better. In case you miss due to some reason, then you can listen to the recording, or sometimes it might happen though we listen live, maybe you want to listen to that again, so you can go through that. Okay, so now let's get into this. I hope everyone has been added to the WhatsApp group, so you will get all the updates there, be it the class link or whatever notes and everything. So ensure that you are there on the WhatsApp group. The name of the group is Temples of Bharata. Okay, so now let's start. Now if you see, along with the message regarding these sessions, I had also sent a document, a PDF document, in which there was a long list of temples that are there. So just randomly picked those temples. I felt that we will look at those in that order that is there. It is based on different states. So state wise, if you see in an alphabetical order, it is there starting from Andhra Pradesh. So why Andhra Pradesh? If you see that, it's nothing, it's just the alphabetical order that goes in. That's the reason it starts from Andhra Pradesh. So rather than randomly every time thinking what to do, if we have a list, we can go by that list, so that majorly everything will be covered. Now, apart from that list, also there are many other temples which are there. It's not that everything has been covered. In some, now even in that list, also if you would have gone through it, including myself, there are many temples also which we have never heard of, right? Or we don't even know whether such a place even existed. It has happened even for me. Only you go through that, maybe you read a bit about that, you get to know more. So that can happen. Apart from that, there might be still many more temples which has not been mentioned in that list. It might be there in some village or so, or maybe it's not mentioned in that list, it's not that discovered, it's not that popular, and so on. So that can also be, this list doesn't mean that all the temples are covered, but as far as possible, mostly everything is there. Okay, so going through that list, before we delve deep into each of these temples, now what basically we are going to look, I'll tell you. Now you know already the name of the temple and the location that is mentioned. Apart from that, little history, or I'll tell you the background story of the temple, whatever little I know I could learn. So the same thing I'll share with all of you, and maybe how you can go to that place, or there will be some speciality, some legend behind that place. So that will mainly be covered here. Now, few of you, at least through this, the main objective is, one is we should know about our own temples, about our own places, and secondly, maybe at least once in a lifetime, you must feel that okay, if I visit this place, I will go and see this temple also. So that the main interest should develop. That is the main objective of these sessions. Okay. So now, before we start with looking at temple one, a little bit of introduction. Now, a few of you might have a question, or even if you don't have a question, one question can come to all of our minds: why temples, right? Now there might be, now here maybe as a group of 40 or 50, we might all be believers in God, or we might be visiting temples. Okay, that's maybe a part of our culture. But still someone can say, maybe a person who doesn't believe, or maybe a person who feels, no, I don't visit temples or so. Why should I know about temples, right? This question can come. Or why should one visit temples? Any answer? Anything you can guess. Why do we visit temples, or why should we visit temples? Any answer? For positive energy and vibes. Okay, but that you will get even after doing something else, right? Maybe you listen to music, you will have positive vibes, or someone speaking good, anything. Okay, but one answer, positive vibes. Okay, Akash ji. Correct, to stay spiritually connected, you can visit temples. What else? To know about the heritage, history, and so on. Yes, one, that is one answer. What else? Now three answers we got. One is Radhika ji. To get focus. Okay. Focus. Radhika ji. Okay. Focus and concentration. Sorry? Spirituality. Again. Okay. What else? Then community praying, group prayers. Okay, that is one thing. Jayanti ji. Correct. Right. So again, positive energy, positive vibes. Jayanti ji. You have a different feeling, you have a different happiness. Okay. What else? Geetu ji. Many great people have visited, so we get the blessings of them too. Correct. Okay. Okay. Now all these answers are true, but these answers that all of you gave, now someone said peace. Peace, maybe I gave you some example. I said you can do something else and also you can feel peaceful. Sometimes you talk to your own best friend also, you feel happy. You go to some other place, you do something that you like, you feel happy. There you can get peace. Someone said spiritual connection. What if one is not inclined towards spirituality? Then there is no answer. So that is one thing. Now, why I'm telling you all this is, I will come to the point. Someone said to know about our heritage, history, and so on. There are many other places. Maybe you have some monuments or so you can visit to get about this. Why temples as such? Why I asked you this question is, now all your answers are correct. No one is wrong. But when this question comes to our mind, we must look at the temples not with only one perspective, that is the religious aspect. Now, some might not like this. Some might say, why? If temples are there, they're meant for religion. That is one part. But if we have so many temples that are there in entire Bharatadesha, now you would have gone through the list, right? There are thousands of temples mentioned. Apart from that, also there are many more. So, apart from the religious aspect that is there, there are few other things, like someone said, positive energy. Now, positive energy, someone might have a feeling, if I have to worship God or if I have to get positivity, I'll do that at my house. Now, in most of our houses, we have a temple, right? That is, we have a puja area. Some of us, we have a separate puja room. If not a separate puja room, we worship the God in our houses, right? My question was, why do we have to visit temples in general? Why do we have to put in efforts? It's the same God. Our culture says God is everywhere. God is all pervading. He's there everywhere. Why should I go to the temple and worship there? Right? This is one question which comes, or rather, if it comes, or if someone asks us, we should be able to answer. Not just to be answerable to others, but to get a very clear idea that why Bharatadesha has contributed too much, or you can say a lot, towards development of temples. One is the religious aspect, one is a positive energy. Someone said that how when the idol and things are constructed, there's a lot of things that are studied. Now, constructing temples also, you have this there is a certain way in which you have to construct temples. Now a simple example, at our house also we have the puja area, right? So there are certain ways in which the puja area should be there. You cannot keep it in any direction. You say usually you keep it east west direction, right? Why so? Why not north? Why not south? Now someone, if I ask you, say for example, now I am questioning you, someone says, no, only in the east west direction we have to keep the puja area. I said no, I want to keep it in the north. Why should I not keep it in the north? Someone questions like this, what do we say? No, no, you should not question, right? The opposite person will say, or let us consider maybe youngsters or children, right? Now in my case, now maybe I am questioning, you might not like, why should you question? I am telling this has to be kept, everyone is following, I am following, my father is following, grandfather is following, who are you to question? We see, right? Someone says, why should I visit temples? Your own child might ask, why should I visit a temple? I want to do something else. At that time, we don't have answers, right? We say, no, it's a part of our culture. It's a part that we go and so on. That is one part. But apart from that, now, the example that I gave you, east-west direction, we keep the puja area. Most of the deities, if you see the temples also, the main deity, the main Garbhagriha that is there, that will always be. The structure, if you see, the idol will be in the east-west, the puja directions, everything. That's the reason men doing the Sandhya Vandana, you know that you face the east direction, in the evening you face the west direction, because sun's rays fall accordingly, and Sandhya Vandana is a prayer that we do to the sun god. So therefore, it should be done in that direction. Even the puja area also, why do we keep it in the east-west direction is because we have the sun's rays. That is one reason. There are many more reasons. So a lot of energy that comes in. So that's the reason, even if you see sometimes the gas stove also, the kitchen area that is there, that should also be east-west. The gas that is there should always be facing the east direction, or the window should always be kept there so that sunlight falls comes through, and then everything, the house is fresh and so on. Now, these are things that are told. Now, where are all such things told? All these reference you will get in the Puranas. There are certain Puranas that talk a lot about Shilpa Shastram, how temples should be constructed, and so on. Now, for any temple to be constructed, one fine day some thought comes, I'll just maybe buy an idol from somewhere, keep it anywhere. We cannot do that. There are certain things which have to be considered, certain directions which have to be followed. Based on that, you have the construction of temples and everything that is done. So you have something called the Garbhagriha. Garbhagriha is the main place where the idol is kept. Then outside you have maybe the other sanctum that is there, where people are usually, now if you see in the main Garbhagriha, the priest is there. The main priest goes, not all of us go inside. We devotees, we stand one place outside, right? And then you have the you can say, what do you call, the stamba that is there. The main stambam is there at the entrance. There some people wait, like maybe sometimes you are in a hurry also, you don't, or maybe there's a lot of crowd, you don't go till the main Garbhagriha, you maybe worship the Lord from outside, that is from the main stamba, and then from there you take darshana and you come out. Or when we do the pradakshina, when we do the pradakshina, we go around the temple also. Sometimes there are small shrines, right? Say for example, there is a Shiva temple. So the Shiva is the main lord there. You'll have small shrines for maybe Lord Ganesha, Lord Kartikeya, Lord Parvati, right? Now it's not that anywhere. Now, if you would, all of us would have visited some temple, you would have seen, right? The main Garbhagriha will be in the center, and maybe behind or in the side that is there, you'll have the other sanctums, the other shrines that are there for maybe Ganesha or Parvati. It will not be anywhere it is placed. It's not like that. Like maybe some diagonally opposite, something like that. It will never be there. Usually, it will be there behind or maybe on the side that is there. Or it is not that maybe Shiva is facing this way and Ganesha's face is this way. It doesn't happen that way. Right? Everything is there in the same direction. So why such things are there? Behind this also, there is a lot of logic, there is a lot of structures that are made. And considering different aspects, a temple is constructed. Even the size also of the vigrahas is done. Then we have something called the Kumbhabhisheka. Kumbhabhisheka we do once in every 12 years. Why that is done is, at that time the idol, or you can say the main Gopuram of the temple, there we do Abhisheka and so on. And if you see, when the Kumbhabhisheka takes place, at that time in few temples you have the idols also that are changed. So the idols are made up of few materials, and that material, if you see, you have to go to the forest. Those who have studied all the Shastram, they will know about temples and so on. Reference comes in the Puranas. It's not that you just bring any random metal stone or so and then you construct, you call a sculptor, you tell him to bring some idol, make some idol. It's not like that. When you have to consecrate a particular vigraha in any temple, there are certain herbs, certain, you can say, medical properties also. Using all that, a mixture is made. Using that, the idol is prepared. So all this is done once in 12 years during the Kumbhabhisheka that takes place. So like this, there are different rituals that are to be followed for a temple. One more thing you would have noticed that now all of us, we do some puja at our houses, right? Whereas the priest who does the puja in the temple, that procedure is different, right? If you see, if any temple, if you would have gone early in the morning, then the priest, you see, there is a certain way in which he comes out of the temple also, right? So from outside he comes, maybe he does a pradakshina, he goes around maybe twice, thrice or so, then he goes inside the main sanctum, then other shrines will be opened and so on. So like this, there are particular ways in which the puja is done. Maybe at home we don't do all such things. Maybe you just randomly you chant a few prayers, you offer flowers, and then maybe you show Aarti, Naivedyam, something, you conclude, right? So like this, there are certain procedures which are completely different for temple worship. So whenever some temple is constructed, these are one category of temples. Then in Bharatadesha, we have one more category of temples like the Jyotirlingas or the Shaktipitas. So in general, if you see, we have 12 Jyotirlingas starting from Somnath in Saurashtra, Gujarat, till Kedarnath, Krishneshwar, and so on. Then you have the Shakti Peeths that are there, about 51. Some people say there are 73. 73 is considering all the minor Shakti Peethas and so on. So about 51 are there in Bharatadesha. Few you have in today's Pakistan, Afghanistan, and so on. So what are these Shakti Peethas or Jyotirlingas? Basically there you have some mythological, let's not say mythological, you have some uh, reference wherein the Lord himself has manifested there. You have different stories. Like if I have to just give you one to reference, Somnath. If you see the Somnath Jyotirlinga is the place where Lord Soma, that is the moon god, has worshipped worship Lord Shiva. That's how the name of the Jyotirlinga is Somnath. Or Nageshwar Jyotirling in Gujarat, if you see, that is you have Lord Shiva. There is a forest there in Nageshwara. You have the Darukavana. That forest is called Darukavana. There, Lord Shiva, he comes there and he dances. And there you have a few sages and gods who go and worship him, and that's how they tell Lord Shiva that you manifest yourself here. That's how you have the Nageshwar Jyotirlinga. Rameshwaram, you have Lord Rama who worshipped Shiva there. So that's how you have the Rameshwar Jyotirlinga that is there. So like this, there are different stories. Kedarnath Jyotirlingam, Pandavas. It has got the Mahabharata reference. Pandavas, at the end of the Mahabharata war, after Krishna Avatara taking place, they descend to move towards the Himalayas. At that time, Shiva was not happy with that they played in the war, that they fought in the war, and so on. So then Shiva didn't want to give them darshana at all. So he keeps running here and there in the form of a bull. Finally, Bhimasena, he catches hold of Shiva's hump, who was there in the bull. That's why you have the Kedarnath Shivalinga in the form of a hump. So like this, there are few Shivalinga stories that are there where the Lord himself has manifested. Or even the Shakti Pitas for that matter. Shakti Pitas are places where Lord Sati, another form of Parvati, her body parts have fallen. So in Daksha's sacrifice after Sati gives up her life, Shiva gets very angry. And at that time it was Pralaya Kala. He decides to bring an end to the entire world. At that time, Vishnu says that don't. He was carrying the body of Sati and going about here and there. At that time, Shiva was doing this. So Vishnu at that time comes and tells him, "Don't do this. What you do is you cut off Sati's parts into various pieces and let that be put down." It falls in Bharatadesha about 73-51. In mainly 73 are minor places where these parts fall. So where the parts eyes fall, that is the Kolhapur Mahalakshmi temple that we have. Where the genitals fall, that is the Kamakhya temple. Where like this you have different places like the Saptashringi temple or the Ambaji temple in Gujarat, or even in South India you go, you have certain places. So like this, these Shakti Peeths, they fall in different places. So if you see the Jyotirlingas and Shakti Peeths, there are few places wherein the goddess herself, goddess's parts have fallen, or Lord Shiva himself, he has manifested. So in that places we have few temples that are consecrated. Then so you see three categories. Some wherein we actually a lot of study is done and that temple is consecrated. Then so few places the Lord himself has manifested in different avatars and so on. Then the third one, the goddess's few body parts or something has fallen, or linga worship has taken place, Shivalinga worship. Then there are few places in Bharatadesha wherein certain kings, like you have the Cholas, Pandyas, and so on in South India. Then you have the Satvahanas in Middle India who are there. They have contributed a lot for uh, temple construction. So maybe a king would have worshipped, or maybe would have contributed a lot for the worship of their own family deity. Family deity would be the goddess Shiva, Vishnu, anyone. And there, from that day onwards, you have the temple that has been constructed. So like this, you have certain people, mostly kings in those times, because they used to have they used to have a huge amount of wealth and so on. So they used to contribute a lot for that temple. Even today, that's the reason you see you have the in South India, you have the Travancore board, right? Travancore temple that is there for Padmanabha Swami temple in Kerala. So even till date, we have the royal kings who come there and contribute. Of course, now you have a lot of things under the government control that is there. Or even today, you have the Mysore Rajas, the Shringeri Sharda Peetham. If you see, you have the Mysore kings or the rulers who are there. They have. So even till date, you have some kingship that is ruling. So the main temple that was there. One second, hold on. Yeah, sorry. So like this, you have the Mysore kings. Maybe they have contributed a lot for the Shringeri Sharda Peeta or things like that. So that's the reason. Even till date, you have those kings who are contributing for such the development of such temples. So like this, if you see in Bharatadesha, there are many temples, or you can say many ways in which temples have been constructed. So the main point why I told you these different categories is temples, when we say when they're constructed, anyone can do. Maybe the Lord himself has manifested, or you have some people who have constructed, be it kings or sages, they have worshipped, or something like that. Some avatars have come, taken place, but still certain procedure is followed for the garbhagrahas, or for the main say for example, if you go to famous temples like if you see the Sri Rangam temple in South India, or maybe the Rameshwaram temple. Now, if you see in these temples, you see you have big corridors, or Garbhagriha is there. Apart from that, the temple is spread into, you can say, huge hectares of land, right? So that is one part that is there. So lot of things have been done. It's not that randomly someone feels, okay, I'll construct a pillar or a big corridor. It doesn't happen that way. You have a lot of architecture, a lot of historical study that has to be done in order to construct a temple. Now, in Bharatadesha only, if you see, there are different categories in which temples are constructed. Say, for example, you go to North India, or in North India also, you have different styles in which the construction takes place. Like the temple as such, if you see, they'll use white marble for the lords, the idol of the lords to be constructed. In South India, if you come, it will be black stone that is there. Then in South India, if you see, there'll be a large, you'll have very huge gopurams that are there. You'll have large hectares of land. In North India, if you go, as such, the temple, if you see, will not be spread into huge areas, but even a small, you can say a road, small road that goes like a gully that we call in, even there you will find small, you will find maybe 10 temples that are there. So like this, there are different, you can say, this is our culture, this is our heritage, how we worship. Now, even all of us also, the way we worship at our houses, it differs, right? Even if we belong to the same culture or same mother tongue, whatever it is, still, now maybe the way I worship might differ from the way you worship. So therefore, ways of worship are totally different. So temples, when we study, these are few things which we have to know. So that's the reason I'm telling you on day one itself. The way we worship differs. The way temples are constructed differs. Way, you can say, how temples came into being in Bharatadesha differs. So now the least that we can do is, now we don't know how many temples are even there. Then after that, we don't know the historical significance. There is so much of architecture that is there. There is so much of history behind every temple. The least that we can contribute is at least know about these temples, at least visit them once in a lifetime whenever we get an opportunity. And it's not again only for the religious aspect, that is one part. One is maybe you know about that architecture, you know about the history, you know about the contribution that is done there. And so much, you can say, you go to a temple, you see the construction, like I gave you a few examples of the Sri Rangam temple. So huge, right? At least once you go there to experience the architecture that is done, the so much of efforts have been put in. Now, even in the gopurams, if you see, there are a lot of idols that are kept. How each construction is done, or maybe if you go to Dwarka temple in Gujarat, or you have the Trimbakeshwar temple in Nasik, you see, it is, they don't have very fancy gopurams also, but the way, the out of one stone, how the entire sculpture, how the entire, you can say, the temple is made, right from the gopuram also, it's not very huge, but the carvings that are there, you have something called as step architecture. Steps is, um, you can see that the architecture that is done, the temple structure is carved in step form, that is there. So that is one way of sculpting, only one stone, the black stone, or sometimes you have the cream color thing that is used. Out of that, directly using that stone, that material, you have the entire temple that is sculpted and structured. So like this, you have out of that one stone also, you don't have any painting, nothing is being done, nothing fancy, but the way the sculpture is sculpted, or way the outer gopuram is sculpted, it looks so beautiful. So like this, this is all the different ways of architecture that are done. Or you have in few temples. Now when we look at all these temples, you'll know about each of these. Then there are few temples wherein you have the musical pillars that are there. So you have the sound, you can, till date you can hear the sound. So just imagine the way of construction that is there. Or there are few temples wherein you have the big pillars that are there, the stambhas, rock pillars that we call. They are there in the temple, but they are constructed in such a way that they don't reach the ground. That is, now say for example, this is a ground. Here you have the pillar. Till here the pillar, maybe you have hardly an inch or so. If you put a small cloth underneath, you can maybe the cloth also you can take it from below. So that is a very unique way of construction. The pillar doesn't touch the ground as such. Little distance is there, maybe hardly a millimeter or so, but that distance is there even till date. That's a unique form of construction. The pillar doesn't touch the ground. There are few pillars, not the entire structure, of course, otherwise there'll be no balance. But there are a few pillars like that, wherein inside certain temples, wherein the pillar will not touch the ground as such, at least 1 millimeter distance is there. And what people do is they'll put a small cloth or something very thin and see if it really is, you can actually feel that. So like this there are a few things. Now these were the different categories of temples and so on. Okay, so till here is everyone following? Yes. 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 Okay. 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 So now the next part that comes in, why should I visit temples? This is one part. Now, one is you have many people who have spoken on this, maybe on spirituality and so on. So, one is someone said positive energy. Now, speaking about this or spirituality. Now, all of us, whenever you go to a temple as such, now we would have gone to temples. Most of us, when you go, to temples, what you see is you can now maybe when I tell you in words, you can relate to that. Apart from that, maybe none of us can show that, okay, this is a temple that you go, this is a feeling that you experience, we cannot show that, right? Whereas you go to religious places or you go to religious places or temples in general, you can actually feel the positive vibes, right? Positive vibes, or you feel very happy, or you feel very peaceful. So like this there are different feelings that we get, so for that thing we go. Now there is, this is one aspect. Secondly, there are few people who say, like few people in the sense, we have few people who speak on religious topics, like upanyasakas, who say that at least when you go to a temple, one second, at least when you go to a temple, you don't get some negative thoughts that come. So, as per human nature, every time now, even if now if I'm speaking, maybe from 9 to 10, I speak, right? Between also, maybe someone comes in, someone asks something, I might get disturbed, I might get irritated, I might get angry. Anything can happen, right? Or maybe in the case of all of you. Now, in the case of all of you, it might be more because you're just listening, right? And I cannot see you. All of your videos are off, so all of you are on mute. Maybe you're talking to someone, maybe you're arguing with someone, maybe you're fighting with someone, we never know. So the point, what I'm trying to say is, very easily we get distracted. Human nature gets distracted. Whereas temples are said to be such places wherein even if maybe you don't feel happy, maybe you don't feel good or so. Now, 99% we feel happy, we feel positive, but at least for that few minutes that we are inside a temple, we don't get negative thoughts in our mind. And this is there even for a person who says, I'm a non-believer, I don't visit temples frequently, or I don't believe in God and so on. Even for such people, if you see, even if they now say for example as kids, mostly now, mostly as children or kids, if you see in our vacations or so, what does our family do? They'll take us to places. And when they say you go on a vacation, out of 100%, 70 to 80% as family trips where we go, you visit to some religious places, right? So it will be usually temple visits and so on. So as kids, what we do is, maybe we are not that much interested, right? It's so boring. You go to the same place, but you don't have an option. You have to go. So what we do at that time, maybe we just go very joyful. We don't, at that time, the child doesn't know, okay, I have to worship. This is God. This is a very religious place, a very holy place. We don't get all such thoughts. Randomly, okay, my parents are taking, my grandparents are coming along, and just going with them. This thought only comes to our mind. At that time, this aspect also doesn't come, okay, I have to worship, I have to chant some prayers, I'm going to a very pure place. Such things don't come. Very randomly, very joyfully, as any normal vacation, all of us we go, right? But even at that time, what happens is, none of us we feel or we get some negative emotions. Maybe you don't feel like killing a person, or we don't get angry, or maybe some argument with someone. At that time, at least we don't remember, right? That's the reason why few of us, what they do is, when they feel very low or when they feel very sad in their life, sometimes they'll go to temples, right? Just sit there for some time and then come. Maybe they won't do anything, they won't chant or do any of worship or such things. They'll just go sit there and come. There might be few of us amongst us. So why do we go? A lot of positive energy that is there. And even when, just as someone said, even when those garbhagrahas or the moolasthanas, where the shrine is constructed, there how the construction is made is, at that particular place where you have the main deity, the energy levels are at the topmost. So you will have the positive energy which is there, which is very huge, very high. That's the reason why there that particular idol is constructed. So these are certain reasons how temples are constructed, and why usually we go to temples for mental peace, to feel happy and so on. And then you have some people who say, even if you don't feel good or happy, at least you don't feel bad, or you don't feel negative, you don't feel depressed. And this is something which is very, very important, because human nature at times, it's Now, I'll give you one simple example. Now, if all of you, if I ask one by one to tell me something, you tell me five good things in your life, you tell me five bad things in your life. Immediately, as human beings, what we remember is good things. Okay, you can tell one, two, three. Everyone might tell, but bad things, or maybe if I ask you someone did something bad with you, or you have some anger on someone, we'll have a list ready, right? Or maybe it does happen, maybe 30 years back, someone told you something, till date, we remember that. Maybe you had a small argument with someone, so negative things or bad things that are there, or some distractions that come in, it affects our mind very easily. This is human nature, not to blame anyone. It affects us very easily. But good things come. Now someone tells us something, "Ah, okay, we'll just listen with one ear, it goes in, another ear it comes out." Whereas something maybe far off, two people are talking something about you, it might be something evil or very small, but still that, "Ah, why you're talking about me, why you're talking evil about me," immediately we go and ask, right? So good things everyone likes to listen, or in the course of time we forget. But someone in my school days, someone told me something, till date I remember that. All of you can maybe think for yourselves. So the point is, this was one more reason why people used to go to temples in those times, is to develop a lot of positive energy. So positive energy is there in temples, but to acquire that from temples also, people used to go, and to be away from negative energy or maybe negative thoughts, at least for that particular time it will not come. I'll not feel distracted also. So for that time also they used to go to find peace. Now, one question comes in: why, if Sanatana Dharma tells, if our Indian culture says God is everywhere, why should I go and visit temples then? Now, for that, there is only one answer. If God is everywhere, if I say God is there in the chair, in the table, in the floor, everywhere, God is there, do I worship the chair then? I don't do that, right? Now, forget about non living things. We say God is inside every one of us. Do we worship each other? No. In fact, we go to the level of maybe arguing with each other or even hitting each other, right? If we develop the feeling that God is there in each one of us, there'll be no fights. It will be Satya Yoga, it will not be Kali Yoga, right? But till date, at least we human beings, at least all of us who are present here, we have not developed that quality that is there of regarding everything to be a form of God, like our dharma says. That's the reason why we worship natural resources like rivers, trees, and so on as also gods, right? We worship rivers, Ganga Stotram, Yamuna Stotram, Narmada Ashtakam, all such things are composed by Adi Shankaracharya, right? Why do we do that? Or we worship trees, we worship the Vatavriksha, we worship the tulsi plant, we worship bilva patram, we worship trees, or sky, all the pancha mahabhutas, we worship them. So why the Vedas or why Sanatana Dharma worships natural elements is, it looks at this aspect that everything around us is a form of that one divine element only, a form of God. So that's the reason we worship this. But humanly, it becomes very difficult to have this mentality, right? Everything around me is God. Okay, but practically how far can I do that? Okay, maybe the person sitting next to me is also God, but can I worship him? Can I put flowers on him? Can I chant prayers for him? No, I cannot do that. So that's the reason what we do is, we need some form in which we have to worship God. So therefore you have different forms of deities: Krishna, Rama, Goddess, Ganesha, and so on. We worship. Now the second question that comes is, okay, we need some form. So I have it at my own house. I have a Krishna vigraha, I have a Shivalinga, whatever it is, I have it at my houses, so I can worship that. I don't have to go to a temple, right? For that, now at one's house, if you worship, maybe now you say, okay, today most of us would have done the Lakshmi Puja. Evening 6 to 7, you did the Lakshmi Puja, you have the Lakshmi, you kept a photo in front of her, you offered flowers, you did some archana, doing coins, and so on. Maybe at that time you have a phone call. Immediately go pick up the call. Someone calls you, you go out. Then maybe someone is watching TV or so. Okay, what is there? What sound is coming? I'm coming out. Maybe you see someone walking about. Immediately you go there. So in a house, if you see, there are a lot of distractions that are there. Whereas you go to a temple, there everyone has come for worshipping only. So there you will not have someone going about here and there, or someone calling you, or even if the phone rings, you can keep it on silent, and so on. So that place is meant. A temple is a place which is meant only for worship. There will be no distractions around. Everyone is doing the same thing. And you know, in a temple, you have to only worship, or our mind is fully focused. For this, I'll give you some simple examples. Those who say that if your God is everywhere, why do you need so many temples also? Now, food is there at our houses also, right? We buy so many things. We buy groceries, vegetables, this, that. You can cook food at your houses. But the same food that we cook at our houses, if you go and eat it in the restaurant, it feels different. It gives you a different feeling, right? Very simple example: dal rice. The dal that you cook at home and the dal that you eat at a restaurant, it changes. No, 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 I want, and that too, we are so choosy that we also choose restaurants. Right? No, only from this restaurant it's very nice. Only from this restaurant it's good. That is not good, right? It's the same dal you cook at your house and eat. No, no, no. It's the same dal, but when I go to a restaurant, it tastes different. Why? Because they'll add some spices or something like that. Their way of cooking is different. Same thing is applicable for worship or for temples also. Why do we worship temples? Why do we go to temples? Is you can do worship at home. It is the same God. But if you go to a temple, if you go to a place which is meant for that, meant for worship, the positive vibes are different. The feeling is different. So just as the dal in a restaurant tastes good, if you go and worship the Lord in the temple, the feeling is good. The worship will be more and so on. Or maybe I'll give you a few more examples. A normal coffee that we drink, coffee or tea, anything, you maybe cook at your houses, it is different. Sorry, you make a coffee at your house, it will taste different. You go to someone else's house, the coffee is different. Maybe you go and drink it at a railway station or in a train, it is completely different, right? Those who have tasted the train or maybe a flight coffee or the tea that is there, it is completely different. Sometimes those who drink it for the first time, they'll feel, is this coffee, they will ask, right? Or maybe if you go to a place, a restaurant or so, nowadays you get, or maybe a good, what do you call that, uh, like a cafe kind of a thing, there the coffee will be completely different. More than coffee, you'll have the frost that is there. Coffee will never come, right? You have to sip, 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 it will never come. So this is the same coffee, 5 different categories. Why I'm telling you this example is to know that why worship is different, why so many temples are needed. Third question that comes in, okay, one temple is needed, why so many temples are needed, why different kinds of constructions are done, why different kinds of worship are done. Now if you see in the same temple, at times different ways of worship are also done. Like certain temples, if you see, they will open very early in the morning, at about 4, 4:30 they will open, 10, 10:30 they will close. Why? Some other temples, maybe morning time is quite same, maybe by 5:36 they open till 12, 12:30 it is there. Usually in afternoon time temples are closed. Apart from a few very famous temples also, you have a lot of crowd coming in, they will be open, maybe that too they will have some shutting time, but still mostly the temples are shut during afternoon time. Night obviously it is shut, apart from some specific occasions, festivals also. So there's different ways of worship that are there, or why there is so much of diversity, or why so many temples are constructed. What is the reason? There is only one God. Now Shiva is only one. Why 12 Jyotirlingas are needed? Why apart from that so many other Shiva temples are there? Why Panchabhuta Kshetras are there? Like this, if such questions come, why there is so much of diversity in your land, right? People will come and ask. But we have so many debates going around, right? Why Sanatana Dharma has so much of diversity? Just as the coffee tastes in different places differently, but we like all of that, right? Or you go to that particular place, you have to adjust. Similarly, you go to any part of India, the culture is different, you have to adjust. So why in the introductory session I'm telling you such things is, we have to be very, very clear when we are looking about temples, or it can be anything related to our culture. We have to know that properly. Only then you can tell it to people around, and to the young generation who comes in, and to everyone who is interested. And the thing is, if you see, it's a very sorry thing. There are so many temples, right? Out of this, I'm telling, including myself, hardly we know anything. Now, religious aspect is one part, but now I told you so many things that are there, the history, architecture, we'll also see that in detail. So it is very sad that we don't know about our own land, and this was one of the main reasons why we have so many, British, the Portuguese, Dutch, and so many other people who came, who looted our land and they went away. Already they have taken a lot and gone away. And today, whatever little that we have, that we have to safeguard. And this responsibility is there in our own hands. We cannot blame people. People will very nicely say, you blame the government, they will do this, they will do that. The government is not doing anything. You have people who are talking against Sanatana Dharma, this, that. All that is on one part. We cannot help that. But what from my side, what little I can do is, at least I'll know about these places. At least I'll tell it to four others. At least I'll assemble, I'll learn about that. Whenever possible, I'll visit. Now, all these are actually places, right? When we say temples, they're actually there today. So you can actually go there whenever you go. It's not that always you have to go just only to temples also. You can go on any other vacation. Now, so many states are there. Now, all over India, wherever we go on a vacation, maybe you go to Andhra Pradesh state also. At that time, now you have a big list of temples. So you remember so many temples. You can maybe Google. Now we have technology, is very easy. Google, you see any one temple which is there near the place where you are visiting for a vacation. You can go and visit there. At that time, you'll remember me and you'll remember the temple also. Oh, I have heard it something. She told something about this. I've heard it. Why not go and see that? And all these temples are till date there. They are not extant at all. But The sorry part is we don't know about temples is just one part of our culture. We are going to focus on that mainly. But apart from that, different rituals or different things that are there, different stories that come in, we ourselves are not aware of these things. And then that's the reason why it becomes very easy for people from outside to come and poke at you, poke at us, or maybe ask, like maybe a simple reason, a simple question that I asked you, why we should visit temples. You have many answers for this, but what is more convincing, right? That is one thing. Why do you worship God, or why do you refer to a particular book? Now, if you see one thing which we should learn, which I feel, I'm just sharing that, we should learn from people belonging to other communities. It can be anyone apart from Indians. Let's not say Indians, apart from Hindus, so-called Sanatanis. What we should learn from people belonging to other communities, be it Islam, be it Christianity, or anyone, you see, they are very, very stringent on their culture. That is it, on their own community, on their own religious norms, whatever they follow. It's not that I'm trying to tell you good about the other parts, but then if you see, if they go and visit a church, they will go and visit the church, right? Or even Jains, if you see Jain children who are there, right from children till even elders, they have a ritual every day to go to the temple. Maybe they wear their own clothes, they have their style of wearing the clothes, or whatever rituals they follow, they walk barefoot and so on. Hindus, you tell them, why should I do that? Where I have the time? This is there, that is there. All excuses come in, right? And you see, in Hinduism, we have so much of options. Whereas you see, people belonging to maybe other communities, they have to, maybe like Islam, you see, they have Allah who they have to worship during the Eid, that is there. They have to follow the fast. Then they have to read their religious book. Like this, there are certain rules. You have to do only like this. They have to wear, maybe wear the burqa, their white clothes that they wear, the cap, whatever it is, all that they wear. Everyone follows that. You don't have any options. Everyone is doing that, right from a small child to an older man. Hinduism doesn't tell you to do all this. Sanatana Dharma doesn't tell you. You wear any kind of clothes. You do any kind of worship. You chant any prayers that you want. You visit any temple that you want. You worship any god that you want. You do anything, just as Krishna tells in the Gita, don't do anything. That is also fine. You just be a good person. This also I'll consider bhakti. Sarva bhuta hite rataha. Just as he tells in chapter 12, Bhakti Yoga, he tells you don't do anything. That is fine. But at least you don't cause trouble to others. Sarva bhuta hite rataha. Bhuta is creatures, including living beings, animals, birds, and human beings. Hite, hitaha meaning welfare, rataha. Engross yourself in the welfare of others. That also I will consider bhakti and I'll take you. But then, unfortunately, we cannot even do that. So, when we belong to a dharma which is so open minded, we have so many options. Religious book. Do we have one religious book? No. We have the Gita, you have the Puranas, you have the Ramayana, you have the Bhagavatam, and so on. You have the Vedas, Vedanta, anything. You choose anything, you can take up. Right? So that's the reason why Hinduism does not even fit into the definition of a religion. That is it. Little we are getting distracted from the topic of temples, but in the introductory part, I'll just tell you so that we have a clear picture why we are studying about our temples, why we should know about our culture. So it should not happen, okay, 1 hour, I don't have anything else to do. On Sunday, one day, I listen 1 hour and go. It should not be like that. So coming back, so when this question comes, I have so many books to choose and you take up any book. So Hinduism, I told you, doesn't fit into the definition of a religion. A religion, if you see the correct definition, it means one religious leader, one religious book. Hinduism does not fit into that. We don't have one religious leader. We have many gods who are there. God is one, form is many. We have many religious gurus who are there. It can be Shankaracharya, it can be Ramanujacharya, it can be Madhvacharya, it can be Sai Baba, anyone. We have our own personal religious gurus also. They might not be well known, but still we follow some religious leader. Apart from that, we have many gods. Someone will say, no, my Ishta Devata is Rama. Someone will say, my Ishta Devata is Krishna. Someone will say, no, I don't have any Ishta Devata. I worship everyone. That is one thing. Then we have Vaishnavites, we have Shaivites, we have people who are Shakti worshippers. You have this. Books, I told you there are many books. Paths of devotion, Krishna himself highlights in the Gita, Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Sannyasa Yoga, Bhakti Yoga. Then even normal puja or worship that we do in our houses, all 40 people, we are all followers of Sanatana Dharma, or there might be people even who belong to other communities. Way we worship is different, right? I told you someone might go to a temple every day, someone might not go. Someone might chant prayers, someone might sing songs, someone might listen to stories, someone might not do anything. But all this is also worship. So there are different ways. There is no compulsion. The Lord never says you do only this, then I'll bless you. He never tells this, right? So why I'm telling this, Hinduism, if you see, it doesn't fit into this religion of one religious leader, one religious book that is there. So basically, the name Hinduism also how it comes is people who live on the other side of the Sindhu Nadi, that is today's Indus River that we call. So Sindhuism could not, the Britishers could not pronounce that. That's how it became Hindu Nadi or Hindavasi Jana. This is one definition. Of course, there are many other interpretations also. That's the reason why some people don't like calling it as Hindustan and so on. They'll say Bharata. And now you have the debate also regarding Bharata that is going on. You don't call it as India, you call it as Bharata. So this is on one part. So that's how this word even has come as Hinduism. In people who belong to the other side of the Sindhu Nadi, they are Hindus. The religion or the practice that they follow, that is Hinduism. So this is how the name has come in. But maybe it will take a lot of time. Let's not get into this whether it is correct, wrong, and so on. Even till date, even after knowing this in the religion that comes in, some people still we write Hindu, right? Some people very smartly write Bharatiya, Indians, and so on, but still we do write their Hindu. So this is one part that is there. So when we have such an open culture, when we have such an open dharma, you see it is very sad that we ourselves don't know about this. Now you see it is impossible for us to know everything, but at least little. Many times it happens when we ourselves we want to know something but we don't have interest in it, right? What it is there, someone is, you see our own people, they don't know what is the Gita, they not know what are our temples. It's not it. Now again, we must note one thing, that it's not only religion that is there. There might be people who are not religious, that's okay, but you must know about your own culture, you must know about your own books. Say for example, forget about the Gita, you see, it's not any religious book, it's not in praise of any god also. It's just a way of life, right? Krishna, he just tells it to Arjuna because he was in a confused state. If we follow the same principles, it will be beneficial for us. Puranas, if you see, Puranas, you have some stories of gods, and maybe deities and so on, some of sages. Apart from that, there is a lot of geographical, historical information. If you read the Puranas, you will know about that. Ramayana, Mahabharata. Ramayana, 24,000 verses. Though it talks about the stories of Rama, it talks about the creation that is there, starting from the different animal kingdom, bird kingdom, plant kingdom, and so on. Where does this come? If you want the reference, it comes in the Aranyakanda, where Rama meets Jatayu. Jatayu talks about his Jatayu, the vulture. He talks about his own ancestors, how the animal kingdom has come, how the bird kingdom has come, and so on. So there is so much of information that is there. So Ramayana, not only the story of Rama, it many other aspects are there. Mahabharata, you have the Gita, more than 1 lakh verses, the Mahabharata, and different principles of dharma, what is good, what is bad, that is being taught. Then you have Yaksha Prashnam, that is there in the Mahabharata. Yaksha Prashnam, conversation between Yaksha and Yudhishthira. So Yaksha asks Yudhishthira various questions, about 100 questions on different aspects. It's not again related to religion also. He asks on different aspects. Yudhishthira could answer that very easily. So like this, if you see all our texts, there might be people, maybe they are not interested. Okay, I don't want to know about any god also. It's fine. But at least you can read, you can know about our own culture, you can know about our own places. So this is something why knowing about all this is important is, and this is one aspect which we must learn from other communities. They will never give up on their god, or they will never give up on maybe their own leader or so on. We need not do that. We need not maybe go and tell people you have to follow this and so on. That's the reason why Sanatana Dharma or Hinduism does not have something called as conversions, right? We don't even have the concept of conversion. Whereas you have that in few places, it is taking place. So we don't force anyone. In fact, we don't force ourselves also to do anything. It's quite open-minded. If you want, you do. If you don't want, you don't do. It's quite open. We don't encourage something called conversions. That is, we don't pull anyone towards our culture. We don't tell them you have to do this. There is no other way. If you don't do this, God will come and poke your eyes. He'll come and cut your nose. He'll come and cut your ears. This is a very wrong thing that we tell others, or that we have been told as kids. So the point is, our dharma is very, very open. Today, when we are now going to start looking at temples also, we have to feel very proud and happy that the dharma which has lived or which has stayed for years or thousands of years from till today, if something is there, the least that we can do is at least know about this, tell it to others, and whenever possible visit these places and see for ourselves. This is the least contribution which we can do. Okay, so now finally let's start with temple number 1. So I'll just share my screen. I hope I did not bore all of you. I felt that this explanation is needed so that we know something, why we are doing something that is also very, very important. Ah, okay. Okay. I hope you can see my screen. So first temple which we are going to see is Ahobilam. Ahobilam temple is a temple in praise of Narasimha. For Ahobilam, the main location, if you see, it is located in the Nandyal district. Nandyal district is in today's Andhra Pradesh. There it is located, and Ahobilam, the main lord who is worshipped here is Narasimha. So you can see the picture of the temple and also of Narasimha. Now, if you see the main the Lord who is this Narsimha, there are about 9 places where Lord Narsimha is worshipped. So this Ahobilam is one town which is there. Apart from that, there are different places where Ahobilam, like you have some sages who belong to the Ahobilamata, just as we have the Shankaracharya dynasty and so on. Similarly, you have the Ahobilamata, where you have this worship of Ahobilam that is done. So it is basically a matha, and here mainly temples in praise of Lord Narasimha have been built. Narasimha, the fourth incarnation out of the Dashavataras of Vishnu. This main temple, if you see, it was built, or you can say the main temple of Ahobilam, which is there in today's Andhra Pradesh, was mainly built or it was expanded by the Vijayanagara Empire. So you see, it's in Andhra Pradesh. So there you have the rulers of Vijayanagara, like Krishna Devaraya and so on. There you had this temple, and mainly the kings of Vijayanagara kingdom, they have contributed a lot for the development of this temple. As usual, you had Mughal invasion that is done here. They had put it down roughly in the 15th century, you can consider. Now, all these dates that I tell you, maybe that will be through online sources or maybe from a few books that I read about these temples. So, dates little, if you see, you can note it down, no problem. But little we have to take that with a pinch of salt, because you have all these dates, and so that the research is done in the later period. So, you will have some, you can say, little few up and down that will be there. So roughly you can mention in the 15th century when we had the Mughal invasion that took place. So as usual, the Mughals had pulled down this temple, but a lot of restoration and things have been done. A lot of expansion is done by this Vijayanagara temples. So therefore, even today, if you go to Vijayanagara temple, it seems that the architecture or the culture that is there in this place is has got a mix of different architectures. So when you go to a particular place, sometimes we see right different cultures that are there. So it is a mingle of different cultures, mainly because you have different people belonging to different time periods who have contributed for the development of this temple. Okay. Now, apart from this, basically this Ahobilam, if you see, it is called the place of Nava Narsimhas. You have 9 Narsimhas that are there. So this is a place where you have Lord Narsimha, Lord Vishnu, who had incarnated as Lord Narsimha to kill Hiranyakashipu, to kill Hiranyakashipu, the demon Hiranyakashipu, and to safeguard the devotee Prahlada. And this Ahobilam, it is also one of the 108 Divya Deshams. So there are about 108 Divya Deshams in praise of Lord Vishnu. So out of that, one of this is this Ahobilam. So if you see, there are about 9 shrines to Lord Narasimha. Now, today we don't have much time. I'm just giving you a rough introduction. Next time we will see about this in detail. You have 9 shrines for Lord Narasimha here. Uh, so it's like a radius in about, you can say, 6-7 kilometers radius. You have lot of 9 different shrines for Narasimha. Then you also have a shrine for Prahlada Varada. Why Prahlada Varada? Because here was a place where Narasimha blessed Prahlada. So you have another shrine for Prahlada here. And here it seems that you also have Garuda, who wanted a darshana of Narasimha. So that is one more aspect of this place. Garuda also had prayed here, and here he had also got the vision or darshana of Lord Narasimha in the form of Narasimha Avatara. So this is the main place where the demon Hiranyakashipu was killed and Prahlada was saved. Here, one more significance of this place is it seems that goddess Mahalakshmi also has incarnated. Now, just as we have different incarnations for Vishnu, similarly, we have different incarnations for the goddess as well. Maybe it's not that popular, but yes, there are different incarnations for the goddess too. So one of the incarnations of goddess Mahalakshmi also has taken place in this place of Ahobilam. Then in this place you have lot, it is a main place for Vaishnava tradition. So basically worshippers of Vishnu, devotees of Vishnu do worship here. So that's how you have the Ahobila tradition. Just as in Vaishnavism there are any Vaishnavites as such, you will know this. You have the different alvars, or you have the different jeers that we call, right? So out of that you have a few acharyas, like we have the Shankaracharya parampara, you have the parampara of the Ahobila Matha acharyas also. Till date also you have, in most of our major cities, if you see, you will have the Ahobila temple, Ahobila Mutt temple, that will be there. Just as we have the Pejavar Mutt or the Shringeri Matha, Kanchi Matha, similarly we have the Ahobila Matha also. So there basically they worship Lord Narasimha, the acharyas who are there, they worship Lord Narasimha and they are descendants of this Ahobila Mutt. So that is also one famous, you can say famous, or a very important aspect of this Ahobala traditions that are there. And Ahobilam, it is an important center of Vaishnavism, because, and mainly the Lord who is worshipped here is Vishnu in the form of Narsimha. So then you have a lot of Sthala Puranas. Sthala Puranas is nothing but stories that talk about this place, how it came into existence and so on. We will look at that later in the next class. And Ahobilam, this mention, this place has got its mention in a few Puranas, Padma Purana, Vishnu Purana, Kurma Purana, mainly Puranas in praise of Lord Vishnu, and also in the Mahabharata. That how Narsimha, in fact, Narasimha Avatara is mentioned in most of the our religious books and texts that are there, most of our scriptures. So obviously you have this place. Now directly maybe in certain books it will not be highlighted as Ahobilam, but you must know that Ahobilam is a place wherein Narasimha Avatara has taken place. And even today you have the Panagam Nevidyam, that jaggery and water, sweet water that is offered. Even till date people go to this place Ahobilam and offer. That's the reason why during Narasimhavatara on Narasimhavatara day, or in general when we read, chant anything in praise of Lord Narasimha, we offer this Panagam as Nevidyam. So that is also something which is very auspicious in this place. Now the Sthala Purana, the legend of this place, we will look at that next time. Today time is up. I hope today's introductory session was quite good. You found it interesting. So now next we meet again next Sunday, same time, 9 o'clock. Namaste, Hari Om.